An teachta Catherine Connolly.
Gur mí maigad les cén córa. I síl cluine agus na tiismóthirí ag dailá le feibanna iompar ó híomh na ngasúide bhain leanúnach gan réiteach. Tagan puinte agus glachan na tiismóthirí go bhfuil gá le réiteach eile. Doling glech le na feibanna iompar nó feibanna iompar na gasúir I meallach eile. Agus nach bhfuil I gceist le na feibanna iompar a cóirí ag eascar as feibanna a bhhaid níos tromcóisí sa chláán. Sin í tiismóthirí cílmhara. Tiismóthirí a bhfuil an doling glech le feibanna I meallach eile. Faríor géir agus is ochla marrá, níl an rialtas seo nó an rialtas revision in an dailál go fírinach le na dúthláin atá os ar góir. Feibanna ó híomh athrú éráide, cuasaí tithiíochta, cuasaí sláinte agus cuasaí iompar taistil. Minister, I looked at this and I thought, how does one deal with this budget and these figures in a sensible way? And tried to be positive about it. And I looked at it and I thought, it fails me really. I listened, I read, and I examined and I discussed. And it seems to me that you have utterly... One could look on this as a positive budget. Absolutely. There are good things in it. Until you put it in context, and so the little money that goes out into one pocket is taken out of the other pocket without any context. So the context, of course, first is climate change. And it's already been mentioned yesterday, the report that was published, a special report from the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. What do we require? And there's no escaping from the evidence. Transformative change from the government. Quote unquote, if we fail to reduce greenhouse gas emissions very rapidly, the consequences will be more damaging and happen sooner than had previously been thought. The changes that will keep warming to a barely tolerable 1.5 degrees will require far-reaching and unprecedented changes in all aspects of society. Now, that's yesterday. Can you tell me where this budget begins to deal with that evidence laid before us yesterday? Now, on the positive side, that report points out that pathways that are consistent with sustainable development show fewer mitigation and adaptation challenges and are associated with lower mitigation costs. In simpler English, if we abide by the sustainable goals that we've signed up to, there will be less cost to us in terms of mitigation. Now, I'm not just saying this. The Citizens' Assembly has said it. The Climate Change Advisory Council has said it. The Environmental Protection Agency all have called for urgent action. As I've said, if we do that, we're going to actually save ourselves money. Now, we have been laughed at in this chamber when we've talked about fines of up to 500 million. But I see those fines repeated in a number of these documents. That's what we're actually facing if we fail to deal with climate change. And again, climate change has to come from every single department, and I see absolutely no evidence of that. In relation to the housing, we once again are absolutely backing up the market. The government is part of the problem in backing up the private market. HAP increased from 150 million to 300 million this year, and it's going to go up to 421 million next year, and that's only one of the measures that is actively bolstering the private market. When you talk about social housing, you are absolutely misusing language, because your social housing is including that HAP payment, the RAS scheme and the other schemes that are there. So I would ask you to stop misusing language. In relation to health, 46 patients are on trolleys in Galway City today. What time till? I just want to check what time till.
7 minutes. 7 minutes.
So thank you, Garmagad. Health. We have, as I said, 46 patients on trolleys today, Minister, and 525 nationally. Now, we have very good public-minded consultants reminding us on a regular basis that every year we have breis is 3 céad duine ag fáil báis. We have over 300 people dying prematurely every year directly as a result of the time spent on trolleys. We know that thousands, something between 7,000 and 9,000, die every year prematurely because of poverty. We know that 800,000 people currently live in poverty, and the largest proportion are children. We know that of that group of people living in poverty, 13.3% are the working poor, the ones, to use your own language and the Taoiseach's language, who get up and go out. We know that the carers in our society save the country a fortune, some 10 billion in unpaid work. Now, I could go on and point out all of this, including domestic violence. We know it costs the economy 2-point-something billion at a conservative estimate. Mental health and our failure to deal with it is costing the economy millions per year. So what I don't understand each year as I stand here, this is my 3rd year, how you don't recognise this. The UN has asked us to recognise this. They have asked us to look at alternative measures when we're looking at budgets. The document prepared by the Parliamentary Budget Office, and I'm very grateful to them, and it's a very good start, talk about gender proofing. And they also talk about climate change proofing, none of which has happened, Minister. So at the very least, perhaps you could stand up later today and tell us why, at the very least, you haven't complied with that, or your government hasn't complied with gender proofing, climate proofing, poverty proofing. And then we would be in a position as TDs to actually say whether this is a good or a bad budget, to praise you for the good things, if it was based on the context outside of this little golden circle in here, Minister. Because we have to look at the budget when you're finished with your papers and all of that. It would be nice if you just heard some of what we're saying on this side, because it is difficult to keep one's train of thought as I watch all the papers being shuffled from one side to another. You have missed a golden opportunity in this budget. You have the money, we have the knowledge, we have the research, and you have utterly failed to act on that knowledge and that research for the betterment of society. You have focused in on a small percentage of the population that you hope will guarantee you votes. I don't believe that, because when we were elected, a clear message was given to us not to talk about reducing taxes, but to actually deal with the fundamental problems facing society, which are climate change, housing, health, public transport, to mention but a few, and in addition, mental health problems. And I'll finish on Vision for Change, 2006 to 2016. It set out the pathways to deal with our mental health problems in a very positive way. Utterly failed each government to fund it. And the most cynical part was to abolish the independent monitoring group that was set up and set for 2-3-year periods, and told each government, you are not fulfilling your obligations under Vision for Change. The answer of each government was to abolish it and ignore it, and your government has refused to reinstall it. Stop me, Meg, on Pointe Shaw. Got a million mark at the last can court.